Christ, okay. Hello. My name is No Venom. I'm gonna try my best to break down my beat from the battle on Monday. I'll save you all from seeing my face since I'm fucking built like a cuboid. But basically, I made this beat in like fucking 12 minutes, I think. I was just down at the chipper, got a nice juicy hamburger. I was just eating that when I got home, and I dragged the sample in just out of curiosity into a simpler, see what I could do with it. And I started making some chords, so kind of just developed from there. So I'll play the beat first, and then we can get into it. They say we can start with a sample. Basically all I did for the sample is I made it in the chords. So all I did was I put it into a simpler and I chopped up a single segment of it that I felt had like a consistent pitch and wasn't just bullshit. So I made these chords out of it. It's pretty basic chords. I didn't even that was the first take. I think everything in this is first take. Processing wise is pretty simple. Sketch cassette. I always add sketch cassette just to kind of add some character to a sound. If I don't know what I want to do with a sound, I'll fucking put sketch cassette on it. EQ8, just cutting out the lows around 100 and boosting up the general highs. I really like Saturn 2. You can do a lot with it. There's some various different saturation and distortion types. Here I just used clean tube and I just got the drive up to about 33%, and I boosted the presence here as well. That's just to give it a bit more crunch, a bit more presence. Valhalla Vintage Verb, of course, classic, just add a bit of room to it. Good Hertz tone control. I really like this on my masters mainly, but here I used it just for like, I really like this air section. Just adds these kind of airy frequencies in the upper high end just to give it more crisp kind of airy sounds. Pretty much the chords really. The other sample usage is in this flute. That's just the same thing. I just duplicated and dragged it to a different track, and same plugins as well. I just tweaked them a bit more. Main thing that's differentiating it is this Saturn 2. I used gentle saturation instead of the tube. Gives it a nice bit of crunch. Here's it without and with. Sort of gives it a lot more bite. To quickly touch on just these double chords that come in the second section of the beat, it's just the Juno 6 plugin from Arturia. It's this 64 space harp. I think I've edited the envelope a bit, but it's just really nice and lush. When combining with the flute chords, it sounds really nice. Just adds a lot of depth to it and just to fill out the space. Processing wise, just EQ. Sketch cassette again. We have this Swide, which is basically another remapped rack, which is of the Air stereo width plugin, I think, and I just remapped it to this since it's only 6 knobs. Chorus and ensemble, just add some chorus, kind of make it wave around a bit. Pro Or, I really like this for more realistic reverbs and stuff like if I want something to sound like it's actually in a room. Autopan, as I mentioned earlier, with the drums, just to give things more movement in the mix. Good Hertz mid-side matrix, which lets you mix the mid and the side levels individually. So I'm just kind of taking down the mids a bit and boosting a bit of the sizes. I guess next we can go on to Alright, the drums are pretty basic, pretty normal drums. Just like a classic kind of big thumpy kick and a big clap and some hi-hats. So I'll play them all together. Main parts of this is just this kick. I modify it a bit, maybe add a bit of G-clip, which I did here, fucking destroying it with gain, and soft clipping it. So it's pretty much the key to getting some hard hitting drums, it's just soft clipping. We've got these this clap, which I really like. super snappy, super crunchy. And then what I've put on that is just the general EQ. Got this RC20. I learned this from a different people breakdown. Basically, you turn up the follow all the way and be easy with the magnitude, and you can kind of add this bit of noise every time the clap or snare or whatever sound plays. This kind of adds a bit of crunch to it. Bit of imaging, just to kind of bring it out in the stereo field a bit. And then this drum air preset in Valhalla Vintage Verb on about 30%. I think this adds like a lot to adding that kind of room sound. Like without it, it sounds like this. Just kind of adds a lot of depth to it without overriding the punch and the crunchiness of the snare. Hi-hats are pretty much, they're from Timber. Shout out Timber. I think they're like acoustic hi-hats that he got the other day, and they're really nice. Pretty much just notching out this certain resonant frequency with Pro Q. You can hear it there. Basic transient shaping, boosting the attack, taking out some of the sustain, and then just rolling off a bit of the highs with an EQ8. In terms of the main percussion, there's not much going on because I didn't really have that much time. But for this, I just used this Ramzoid perk loop. I really like Ramzoid's percussion loops. They're really nice. Simple kind of almost like keys being shaken around, adds just to the general movement of the groove. On effects wise, I'm just cutting the lows. Valhalla plate, which is really nice. I really like Valhalla plate. Using Autopan just to kind of create movement. It's really nice in the mix. I'll quickly go over the processing on this drums. I just have this audio effect rack that has my whole drum chain on it. I have several different plugins mapped to the macros so I can dial in general stuff that I would use on drums all in one, so I don't have to go into all the separate plugins. On this is Wolf Compressor on one of the parallel settings. Transpire, it's a free transient shaper. It's simple, you can just change the attack and the release. Drum bus, don't really use it in this beat, but in substitute of that, since I do like using this boom setting, I just used an EQ8 with a bell around 50 hertz. When I adjust it over here, it just boosts that. Just decapitator. I like these drum fattener presets. They're really nice when you do them on like a 60-70% mix, so it doesn't really completely take over your entire drums. Add air, this is basically just a remap version of fresh air. Since it's only 2 buttons, I just remapped it to a rack. Then glue compressor just for the soft clipping. Over here I have G clip, it's just a free clipper plugin remapped to the end of this chamber. And I also have this air verb, which is just as I showed earlier, the drum air preset. So that's the drum processing. But that pretty much does it for the drums. Like, next we can go on to the main bass sounds and stuff like that. For the bass, I really like this bass line. I pretty much center a lot of my beats and a lot of my music around bass since I play live bass. As you can see, it's kind of like hopping all around the place, like doing octaves and thirds and all that stuff, which I think gives a bass line more movement and allows you to, if you only have like chords and drums, kind of fill out the space and to have a melodic element without having like a melody that also serves the groove and also is in the pocket. So like, and serves the purpose of what a bass does. I'll just play the bass really quick. So that's pretty much it. There's little variations across the way, like this patch. It's from Jupiter 8. It's this inflamed preset, and I think I've edited it for like just to change the envelope. And processing wise, rolling off a bit of the highs with a high shelf on the EQ8. R bass, I love adding R bass to any bass. Like you can do it on the synth bass, but it's literally just a sub oscillator. In terms of saturations, just general drive. I think that does it for the bass. And for the general whole beat, I guess I can start rambling about all the fucking extras and stuff. Sidechain bus, if I'm from pretty much everything in the melodic section is assigned to the sidechain. I'm just routing all of these to this separate audio track. So what you do is you set some sort of input and you set it to in, and then you just go no input, and that basically makes it a bus. And then you can just route, say, this melodics to this, and then the output of this is only going to come out of this, and then you can just process it all as one, which is what I'm doing with this sidechain. It helps from like putting a compressor on every single thing. I use this duck plugin. I think I got this from Offside Cam's breakdown, this plugin. It's basically what it allows you to do is, instead of like typical sidechain compression, which is basically the actual like sidechain input, say a kick, kind of determines the amount of compression applied and how long it lasts for, like the envelope, quote unquote, of the compression. You don't have that much fine control if it's like a real kind of long kick sample over like the attack and the release. That can be remedied in Ableton just using the compressor and using the EQ section of the sidechain, what you can do is just like bell out a single frequency that's really resonant and like make it like click almost, so you have a lot more fine control over the attack and the release. Even better is just being able to take whatever sound, no matter the volume, no matter how long it is, to trigger an envelope rather than having it determine the envelope and the length and the amount of the sidechain that's applied, which is what this is doing. So it's just taking the kick as an input, as a trigger, and then every time the kick hits, this envelope plays. So it's probably a way over explained version of that, but it's really handy, and I think this is my preferred way to do sidechain at the moment, because you can just dial in this amount of sidechain or this amount of sidechain. It doesn't matter the input, you can just design it yourself. To quickly touch on this B section that I did after the battle, basically I just varied the drums a bit, took the hi-hats to 8th notes instead of 16th notes, just to kind of give differentiation between the grooves, just to kind of take things down a notch and kind of more relaxing for the outro. Matched the same thing with the perk loop, added some more perk loops. It's just all just kind of ear candy. This high string, which is from the same patch as the chords earlier, the kind of double chords on the Juno 6. Then we have this main solo lead, which I really like. This is just Jupiter 8. It's the boogie lead. It's probably one of my favorite leads. So there's that, and then I took the bass sound and I kind of made a lead out of it. Just for that kind of little run there. Made the bass so it's less busy than the last, the main A bass line. It's just roots. Just to give more room for the leads. And pretty much the last thing is just this runs through at the main kind of A1 section here. Just this kind of paper crumble thing. Basically what I've done is I've cut out all the lows just to have this like real nice kind of sprinkle all top of the high end, so I can just create some space. I think I got this from JPEG Mafia. Kind of used fire sounds, really stereo fire sounds, to fill up a mix, and I'm achieving that with just this doubler here, but I'm taking out the central channel and just leaving in the two voices, so it's like basically only in the left and right speakers rather than in the center. So that kind of does it for this this whole beat, all the extras included. Thanks to Kenny just for hosting the beat battles and stuff. I really like doing them, they're really fun. I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. I guarantee you half the fucking sub chat's half asleep right now. But yeah, thanks for watching.